Okay, so today we're going to look at Plato's dualism, which is Plato's idea of the soul. So let's just start with a quick key definition and a key idea. The idea for Plato is that the soul, which is really you, it's the thing that makes you up, your consciousness. The soul is non-physical. Now, non-physical, remember, that doesn't mean non-existent. It means doesn't have physical elements. A bit like a ghost, let's say. It's non-physical and eternal. Remember that Plato believes in something else that's also non-physical and eternal. He believes in the forms, and they're going to come into play in just a second. Now, the key kind of definition here is substance dualism. We've talked about this before. Do you remember what it is? Yes, it's the idea that the soul is different from the body. Now, Plato believes that the soul is kind of this perfect non-physical thing, whereas the body is this imperfect thing, this thing of the realm of appearances. So you might consider Plato's view a bit like this, that what he's saying here, remember this is the soul, is you have the realm of the forms. The realm of the forms, which are, as we've said, non-physical and eternal. They are the abstract, perfect ideas, like everything from numbers to examples of things like the perfect chair, to abstract ideas like goodness and being and so on. They exist in a separate realm for Plato, and he has various reasons for believing that. But we have access to them. Our body, though, of course, doesn't. Our body is physical. It's physical and temporary. It is imperfect. Oh, I don't know how I could misspell temporary, but I did. So we have this physical body that's never accessed the realm of the forms. Well, how does it get there? Well, the soul. Oh, that's not going to work, is it? The soul gets us there. So the soul is this physical thing. Is this non-physical thing. The bit that we're missing here is that the issue is that we have knowledge of the forms. Now, if we have knowledge of the forms, and our body has never accessed the forms, well, there must therefore be this thing, the soul, that comes down, enters the body, and then leaves after death. Okay, that's Plato's kind of idea. Another example would be Pythagoras. Remember Pythagoras, he of the triangle? He thought that your soul goes into beans after it's dead. So beans were in some way holy. Yeah. So let's move on to the theory itself. So let's just talk about Plato's basic theory. You have two things. You have the soul and you have the body. The soul is non-physical and eternal, okay? It is the rational self. Now, we, as humans, are the only ones that have it. Other animals don't. Other animals only have the body, the thing that we also have, the physical and constantly changing self. Now, this body is limited. So in many ways, for Plato, it's a bad thing. Whereas the soul, being eternal and non-physical and rational, is the good thing. The soul has been trapped in the body. You've heard the term Platonic relationship before, maybe, where it's a purely kind of intellectual and an emotional relationship, and there's nothing physical at all. Well, that's the same idea. The Platonic relationship is all about the soul and not the body. That's why it's called that. So Plato thinks that the real you, the important you, is the soul, and it's become trapped in the body. You can see this in this painting here. This is David's painting of the death of Socrates. So I just want to point out a few elements here. David, by the way, was painting this a long time after Socrates had died. He was painting in just in pre-revolutionary France, so we're talking the 18th century. There's a few things I want to point out. There's loads we could talk about here. You notice that here is Socrates himself about to take the hemlock over here. Okay. Now the hemlock is the thing that is going to kill him. But he doesn't seem that worried. Everyone else is wailing around here. They're looking very upset indeed. Socrates isn't. Socrates here is pointing to the heavens in the same way as in Raphael's The School of Athens, Plato is pointing up. They're pointing, of course, to the realm of the forms. But I think the really interesting thing is that this is partly an illustration of the soul being trapped in the body. And death sets you free. Here, remember he's in prison, he's about to be killed. But here is the chains that are meant to be wrapping his ankles, but they're not. They're loose, they're on the ground. Socrates is about to be free. So when the soul is trapped in the body, it forgets the realm of the forms. It becomes stupid. And the aim of the philosopher is to remember the forms. Death, then, as you can see here, is a release. Okay. So that's Plato. The fundamental ideas here are that there are two parts to you. There's the immaterial eternal soul and the physical body. And then your soul is trapped in your body and forgets everything, and death is the release that allows you to leave. Now, this heavily influenced Christianity. So think about the time that Christianity really began, which is the 1st to 4th centuries AD. And in that time, Christianity was a primarily Jewish kind of subset. It was part of Judaism for a long time until at least until what we call the Jewish diaspora, when Christianity, when the Romans destroyed Jerusalem in AD 70, and Jews had to flee all over the Middle East. And at that point, Jewish identity became much more solid as a thing, because the diaspora means just spreading out, and they were spread out everywhere, and they had to find some unity. At this point, those who believed that Jesus was the Son of God, they started being slightly different to other Jews, and they started being Christians and having their own religion. Now, they started mixing Judaism with ancient Greek philosophy, especially Plato. And the idea of the soul comes out of that. So Christianity, the theory of Christianity, is really Judaism plus Greek philosophy. Now, when we start getting that idea in our heads, we can see that the soul doesn't come from the Bible as such. It comes from Plato. But there are differences. So remember here that Plato thought that the soul was eternal. Well, in Christianity, the soul is created. It's created by God. Okay. And not eternal. But it can be given eternality by God. Okay, so those are some of the differences. You get the kind of the idea of life after death as well. That is Christianity and how it has been influenced by Plato's dualism.